Animals are naturally present on a farm and important to the ecosystem, but could be spreading human pathogens in their fur and feces as they move through the landscape. Animal feces may contain pathogens that make people sick, like Salmonella and E. coli. Domestic animals and wildlife, like birds, deer, and mice, may contaminate your fields or food storage areas with their feces. Some examples of animal risks are mice living in your pack shed, deer droppings in the field, or even petting dogs during harvest. Grazing livestock can also contaminate farm fields if an appropriate waiting period is not used between grazing and harvesting. After grazing or applying manure, the current guideline is to wait 120 days until harvest if your crop normally grows touching the ground, and 90 days if the crop grows above the ground. To manage the risk to your crops, it's important to limit animal access to growing and packing areas and monitor for signs of animal presence. Managing wildlife does not mean eradicating all wildlife from your farm. FSMA regulation requires monitoring animal presence in your farm fields and taking measures to prevent contamination of your harvest. The measures you take should depend on the animal pressures you have, your facilities, and the crops you're growing. Here are a few common ways to deter, relocate, and respond to animal presence. To control animals in food storage areas, close your buildings at night when possible and remove compost daily so animals are not enticed to enter. Use non-baited mouse traps at the outer entrances of your pack shed. Relocation traps are also an option for both small rodents and large creatures like raccoons. If you use a live trap, consult with a professional about how much distance is recommended for release and precautions you need to take, since animals may carry serious diseases like rabies or become aggressive when frightened. When you find feces in the fields or packing area, have a designated container for removing that feces. Make sure the container is clearly marked and that everyone on your staff knows what to do. Never use the designated container for food contact. Avoid harvesting crops with feces directly on them or within 3 to 8 feet of where the feces landed. The distance is up to your discretion depending on the context. Mark the area off and remove the contaminant as soon as possible, including any soil that may have been affected. This will prevent workers from touching or tracking the feces into other areas. Netting and electric fencing are effective barriers for keeping birds and deer away from harvestable crop. If electric fencing is used, remember to turn the power on at the end of the day and make sure your staff understand how to safely work around electric fencing. There are several ways to set up a deer fence, and it does not need to be electric. The one featured here has a double layer of rope, ideally placed about 30 inches apart. Choose a fence style that works for your farm. For more information about other options such as decoys and noise deterrents, see the reference section in the YouTube notes below. Assess your risks on your farm and do what you can to keep the poop off the food.